In Colombia, a woman petitioned to be euthanized because she was ill, but not specifically terminally ill. Terminally ill is defined as having a prognosis of dying in 6 months or less. Since 2019, Martha Sepulveda has suffered from intense pain and has lost the ability to walk without assistance as a result
Sepulveda.
of ALS, a degenerative disease of the nervous system that affects the body's mobility and is considered fatal, though death may take years. Should assisted suicide be expanded to those who aren't terminally ill? If so, should there be any limits at all? If not, why should a person's suffering be prolonged? Okay, so we're going to take it nice and easy. We're going to talk about assisted suicide. So let's do introductions on this. So, what are your initial thoughts? I'll start with our friend Gambit.
Yeah, I'm reading more on this, but I'll just go off kind of sort of my principle. I think that death is a very serious thing. I'm generally not in favor of assisted suicide. I'm pretty sure there's like extreme limit cases where I'd be okay with it, but in general, my principle would not be to support it. I think that I don't know. There's even potential gaming with some of this. So, in general, I don't support assisted suicide. I'm pretty sure that somebody on the panel is going to say, "But what if blah blah blah?" And I'm going to say, "Yeah, in that case, I would." But my principle is that generally I don't agree with it. I'm gonna do a little bit more reading about it, as everybody else does, the open and listen to them, and then we'll talk in the open. But yeah, in general, I'm absolutely not for it.
White rice.
All right, so I'm generally for euthanasia if the person wants it. I honestly think that we should actually move more towards the way that the Netherlands is. I was schooled on this earlier, but I guess the Netherlands currently in law has it. It's only legal in cases of hopeless and unbearable suffering, which I guess would cover a story like this instead of it just being 6 months. But I know that they're trying to do it. They're trying to expand that even more. Um, they actually even have like a clinic in the Netherlands. It's the only one where like people go to. For the most part, I 100% agree, and I think that if this woman wants euthanasia, then they should 100% give it to her. Like, for a lot of us have the argument where like, oh, if I was a vegetable and I didn't have like a good quality of life, I would hope that they would pull the plug. Or not a lot of us. Like, don't want to like put that on other people that don't actually have it, but a lot of people that I know have that same feeling. And I think that if I were in a case like this where I just didn't have a good quality of life, or I didn't feel like I had a good quality of life, I'd want to be able to choose euthanasia. So,
Counterpoints.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking for biblical support against suicide because I think the contradictory view on suicide is oftentimes religiously based.
You broke up. You broke up hard.
Just read.
If you can hear me, you broke up real hard there. Sorry. Try it again. Try it again. Better.
Be careful what you said about the Bible. You started breaking up. I'm joking.
Yeah, you were saying you were looking for biblical.
I don't think it's back.
Oh fuck. Can you hear us, buddy? Counterpoints. Okay, we'll get back to counterpoints soon. All right, let's go to Top Dolphin.
Yeah, my mic is not muted, thank God. I think so I don't know what people know about like ALS specifically. But ALS is, or also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is like really awful. If you haven't read the book Tuesdays with Maury, it's like a book that I had to read in high school, and oh my God, it describes this as like such a terrible thing. Basically, all your muscles atrophy, you lose the ability to control like all of your muscles. It's described as like your living brain, and your body becomes like a sack of potatoes. It's just absolutely useless, and it's an agonizing experience. And there's no cure for it. The treatments, I believe, I don't even think you can make it like happen less fast. I think that most of the treatments are like making people more comfortable as their body degenerates and becomes awful. And in with stuff like this, definitely I think like this woman should be granted the right to be able um to participate in physician assisted suicide, because there's, especially when it's something that we don't have like the technology to take care of, and it's something that is like completely like agonizing. I don't think it's right to like let somebody go through that like agonizing amount of pain. And assuming that the person's like in a good place of mind, which ALS is something that doesn't affect their state of mind at all. um I just think like to end the suffering before it begins, or like as it starts, is probably way better than unnecessarily subjecting this person to years and years of just like almost being like locked in their own body.
Dionysus?
Yeah, can y'all hear me now? I think it's stabilized.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, I think the hostility to suicide is primarily religious based. I looked for biblical support for it. It's a kind of not really there, but Catholics in particular, Jews in particular, prohibit suicide on a religious basis and think that it's cause for you to go to hell. I think that we need to make a moral categorization different for assisted suicide. That way, people can do this. I think we shouldn't call it suicide. We should call it euthanasia. And the reason why is because somebody who's just killing themselves, I don't know, out of spite for existence, is not the same as somebody who is suffering for prolonged periods, who has no chance of recovery, who all that's left for them is suffering in this world. So I would say that we need to make a moral categorizational difference. That way, religious people can get on board and secular society can ease the passing of people who have terrible diseases like Lou Gehrig's. Yield.
Dionysus.
Yeah, so first off, life's precious, right? I personally think suicide in majority of cases is extremely selfish. You're not allowed to give up, assholes, okay? Stick with us. But in cases like this, for people who are very, very ill, we have to draw a line somewhere. It's arbitrary line, whether it be under the definition terminally ill or other gray areas. I think ALS does fall under that gray area where it should be acceptable, but I also don't want to stretch it out to the point where we have like the Futurama episode of like just suicide booths everywhere. Like if you feel like your life's worth yourself, perfectly fine because you're poor or whatever else, right? I feel like for extreme medical circumstances, sure. Should we look on where that line is drawn? Yes. Do I think it should be legal for like depression or anything else? Past that line? Definitely not. No. So like coup de grace like moment, sure. If they're blow of mercy, fine. But other than that, no.
Fanatic.
Yeah, I guess as a biblical fundamentalist, I'm probably gonna always be like murder. And I think assisted suicide. Technically, it's not.
You're cutting out. Maybe get closer.
Oh, sorry. I think assisted suicide is the taking of a life, and I'm going to be always against the taking of lives as a biblical fundamentalist who values lives and think that it's something incredibly precious that should be treasured and valued and like upheld as much as possible. So I'm never going to probably be behind assisted suicide. Euthanasia is going to be awful, but again, I don't really like making prescriptions for other people. I would say morally. I think the idea of someone like being able to make that decision, I feel like it does need to be in extreme cases. I understand Lou Gehrig's can, like ALS, it can eventually get to that point where it becomes incredibly problematic, but it's not always there. I think it's a spectrum, right? Like it doesn't stay. You don't start out there, and so I would say we can look and recognize it. Like there's a point in time where this thing is progressive, and it progresses to a point where it's really bad. In her case, I think she was still like it literally had only been like at the loss of her leg. And while I get Lou Gehrig's does become particularly agonizing, I don't think it starts that way from the onset. There are plenty of people like servicemen, like in the military, who lose their ability to walk and immediately feel like their lives are over. There are people who like have workplace accidents and lose their legs and then feel like life is over. I think we should probably be a little bit more descriptive on what exactly is agonizing. I think right now, as it kind of stands, there has to be like once they have 6 months left to live, and I think that's a pretty good place to stay. I don't see why we would extend this beyond that. I would say for a lot of people, they would say depression is agonizing. It is agonizing. I still don't think it justifies someone killing themselves, so on and so forth. I just think we should probably, I think the system that we have in place is probably pretty good, and I think in the vast majority of cases I'm going to be against euthanasia. However, I recognize that we do have, legal, jurisprudence for allowing it, and I think what's already.
Okay, awesome.
Ooh, so I guess I'm going to have the hot take here. All right, I think ultimately what you decide and what you do with your life and how long you decide to be on this earth is up to you. I don't think that it's a good idea to if someone says tomorrow, hey, I want to go kill myself, and then the doctor's like, all right, come in my office and then I'll get you. I don't think we should do that. No, think there should be like defined, like, hey, oftentimes this isn't a this is a permanent solution for temporary problems, right? We hear that all the time, and you need to have like, I think you should be able to see a therapist, see a doctor, see if you can get some help, do everything else like that. But this is still in a special place with me for two reasons. One of them, like, I had someone extremely close to me use like suicide to exit this earth, and it was like, it's very difficult, even me, for me today, right? But the other time is like, I suffer from bipolar disorder, right? That's like diagnosed, as well as ADHD, plus my PTSD from the military that I had. So I have like, it's if I'm not going to pretend like taking my own life has vacated, right? It's just, or it has never entered my mind, because it enters, and I'm not gonna lie, it enters like semi frequently, depending on where I'm at with how my bipolar disorder is treating me, right? But I think it's very clear where the suffering that I did before I was diagnosed, and I was able to see that you can't. It's really easy to see something like, hey, this person's leg is coming off, or this person's like arm, or whatever, their body's like is getting small. But the mental anguish that individuals can feel from through depression, or if they have a significant PTSD, or from whatever happens, right? Just military, if they're rape or anything else like that, that mental anguish from whatever medical problem they can have is, to me, could be sufficient enough where it's like, I don't want to exist anymore. I want to begin the process. It needs to be a long process. It needs to be a very serious process. And we need to do something to try to convince this person, like, hey, life's worth living. But at the end of the day, if they decide on this earth they don't want to be here anymore, in my opinion, that's up to them. It's no one else's opinion comes in. Maybe if they have kids, we can have a different conversation about it, if people are depending on them to live. But ultimately, like, who the fuck are you to tell me if I'm going to be here or not? I didn't want to be here. I didn't say to be here. Like, I can remove myself, right? I didn't, like, that's crazy.
Dooby.
Okay. So I'm gonna be a little bit real with you guys for a second. So don't take it like don't feel bad for me or anything, right? Like, I'm not trying to bring this up to like get sympathy or anything like that. But the reason, Prem, when you sent me this the invite, I wasn't gonna do shit today. Right? When you sent me the invite and this topic was on there, this is actually why I agreed to it, because last night I got a weird text from my mother. Just calling, her and my father. They weren't answering the phone, so I drove out to their place, and I found my mother in the middle of like hanging herself. Right, and thankfully, she's fine now. It's a very long night, but this is something that, like, my mother's been suicidal for a very long time. She's abused when she was a kid, heavily, tons of like mental issues, right? So my knee-jerk reaction to the question is yes. Right? I don't think that like there's a responsibility or requirement for somebody to like linger around in pain while they slowly waste away in front of friends and family. Like, I think that's awful, right? And I can't imagine telling someone like, hey, yeah, I know you're in pain, I know you're like wasting away, but you need to stick around, until your body gives out, because we're not going to make it easy for you. That seems pretty fucked up. So my natural response is yes, right? I think that this should be extended to people that are like in pain chronically and they don't want to deal with it. But where do you draw the line? Because as Fanatic brought up, depression's fucking just as bad as some of these others. Like paranoid schizophrenia, really fucking bad. People don't want to deal with this shit every day. Right? So what about these people? Do we just tell them like, hey, yeah, I know you don't have to deal with, taking your pills every day, visit after the visit to psychiatrists and therapists and all this treatment and shit just to get you through the day every day. But hey, you can't push the off button. We're not going to let you. You need to stick through this. Like, I don't know where that line is. So I'm really torn about the topic. I'd really like to. What do you guys think?
So I've got to start off saying I'm sorry that you and your family went through that. I hope your mother will get better soon. Get the help that she needs. So I just want to start with that. But thank you for sharing. All right, everyone else, go ahead.
Yeah, so just to talk about this a little bit, there's a lot of different things that we're kind of lumping into one category, and obviously we're going to blur the lines a lot. But there are like specific designations for different things. There's so like Counterpoints use the word euthanasia, but there's lots of different types of euthanasia. for example, when you're in a hospital, you can sign a DNR, right? And which is like passive euthanasia. Which we're not going to do anything to you, but like we're not going to take extreme measures.
DNR counts as do not resuscitate.
Do not resuscitate, yes. And then and I believe as long as you're in good mental capabilities, you can sign these at any point for any reason, right? And then we have what physician-assisted suicide, which is when physicians take a patient who's terminally ill. What terminally ill means in different places might be different. Like in this country, it's 6 months. I don't actually know what it is in the United States, but it's like doctors have determined that this person is going to die, and we are going to assist them as a physician to do this. And then there's also like active euthanasia, which could be for people who like let's say like you have dementia or something, and you're not necessarily you're not all there, and like a physician couldn't necessarily make that decision for you, which I think is a very like hot thing that not a lot of people agree with. And then there's also like I believe I think was it Rice or no was it Agent who brought it up, who said like everyone should be able to like have the right to like and
I didn't.
I don't remember who it was.
Not I.
But yeah, but there's a lot of different things that are like in this, and they're like very clearly defined. This article specifically was about physician assisted suicide and like how the 6 month period in terms of Lou Gehrig's disease, which by the way, I think 90% of people die in 10 years, 50% of people die in 5 years. No, 50% of people die in 3 years, and like 70%, I have it written down here. 20 and 75% of people die in 5 years. So this isn't something that like people are like really get past.
Else?
Yeah, so like if there's gonna be a line, we're gonna draw the line medically, and if you want to lump ALS into that line of what we're saying is okay for medical euthanasia, then we could have that conversation. I would agree with you on that, right? But I think it's important. I think we all agree in like, a taking someone out of their misery, right? Back in the barn, like you bring your horse out there, it's got the broken leg and shit like that. Same concept, right? We put down our pets for the most part when they're suffering too much medically. I just want to make sure that there is a line, and if you want to add sure, I don't want coupling a lot of mental illness or certain physical injuries with terminally ill or other diseases such as ALS.
So why does there need to be a line, right? Like this is the part that like I have a disagreement on, is because it's like, yes, it's very easy to see physical ailments, right? It's extremely easy to see physical ailments, but like it's not going to be me missing the leg that is the problem. It's going to be me having my mental anguish that becomes the problem, with the way that I like have with the inability now to walk, or the fact that I don't have arms anymore. I was never born with them and I got bullied. It's the mental anguish and not those physical things. So why are we using that physical barrier, and why is that like it seems to be excluding people who are suffering like deeply from like depression, right? Because it's like that is like I don't see it. It's not fair
to respond, because you can get over that hurdle, right? Eventually with work, with help, with support, you can get over that hurdle or not adapt to living that way, so you're not in misery, right? That's the thing. Same thing with some physical ailments, right? So like if you get, someone, I forgot who, someone brought, I think it might have been an accident, you get your leg cut off in a work accident, right? You lost your fucking leg. I would say, even if you wanted to, I don't think you should go for euthanasia. Us as a society, we have support groups, we have societal structures to help people like that. We have prosthetics, wheelchairs, other stuff to help your life get past that hurdle, even though it's never going to be fixed. And you might have mental anguish of losing that limb. I don't think that is enough to warrant, because we can get you past that hurdle and your life is valuable. I don't think just because you feel shitty one day that you should end it all, when we could help you and that you have this whole life ahead of you that you could enjoy.
Okay, so let's go. We got a lot of people. So let's go to White Rice, then GSU, and Counterpoints, and Fanatic put his hand up, and then Top Dolphin. I said you counter as well. So it's White Rice, GSU, Counter, Fanatic, Top Dolphin, Dooby.
So for the most part, I actually completely agree with Salsa on this. Like I'm not sure that there should be a line. I the whole, like, this kind of gets in the whole argument of like bodily autonomy. Like, somebody should be able to do to their body what they want to do, as long as it doesn't affect other people. And I know, like, there's gonna be some people that might say like, oh well, if you have depression, that's something that you can that's something that you can get through. But somebody with depression might see that argument and go, that's just you telling me to like pick myself up by my bootstraps and like get over it and like keep going. And I'm not gonna like try to say that that's what you're saying or like that's what anybody's gonna say about it.
It's not what I'm saying.
Well, like, yeah, but somebody with depression might take that as like, as you saying that. Like, my brother has like mental health issues from being in the military, as well as like physical issues. My dad has the same thing. I also have physical issues from being in the military, and I'm in a pretty extreme pain every single day. I refuse to take like pharmaceutical drugs for it, and instead I try to use other means of taking care of it. But like, I don't want to tell somebody that what you're going through is just something that you can kind of get over, because I know what that's like. I've dealt with it in my family. I've dealt with it personally, and I know that like, it's something that you may not, as a person dealing with it, you may not ever see the end of the road. Like, other
Yeah,
people are
well,
like, oh, you're eventually going to get through this. Like, you're going to see it through to the end. Like, you got to stay with us. But like, those people, and like me myself, like, I don't care about hearing any of that. Like, I'm dealing with this every day. Don't try to like tell me like what I'm dealing with isn't bad or anything like that. If I want to be able to end my life so I don't have to deal with this anymore, I should be able to do that without it being codified in a law that I can't decide to do it when I want to do it and how I want to do it, especially after I've talked to my family about it and like gone through sitting down, talking to them, letting them know this is the decision that I've made and this is what I want to do.
yeah, no. So this isn't some, you have your problem. This isn't, hey, get over it, suck it up, buttercup. You're going to be fine in like a week, right? This isn't, we give you a magical drug and then you're through the light at the end of the tunnel and everything's good again like it never happened. You will live with this. This is life experiences. You will live with scars. It is. But it's how you adapt from it and what us, like your people around you, your loved ones, can help you with, right? If you have PTSD, there's support groups. There's drugs that could help, right? There's stuff that we can help you with. It might not fix your problems, but it could get better. Or we could at least help you live and adapt with those problems, right? It's not going to be fixed. It's not going to be 100% like it was before. It's never going to be like that. And I think people who like do suffer from this have a bit of a bit of bias, because when you're in a rut, you don't ever see yourself getting out of that rut. But for a lot of people, it gets better, not because they get out the rut, is because they have those support structures, or they should, at least I'd hope they do, to eventually learn with it and get over that, right? It's not it's not a magical drug and then you're over the, everything's sunshine and rainbows. That's not how it works.
But
I
like,
wanna kill myself.
this
I'm going
is
to kill
exactly what I'm
myself.
talking about, because like
It
this
is, and
isn't
I
a
hope you
rut.
don't.
No. Don't use.
Well, I'm
the
not
term
talking about you. I'm
rut.
talking about him.
No, but sorry, but like,
It's
don't use the
still,
term
but-
rut. The easily defines, and I'm sorry, White Rice. But
Yeah, no, you're
this
cool, man.
particular one, it's like it pisses me the fuck off, right? Because when it comes down to like I never was diagnosed with depression, but the way my bipolar manifests itself is I go up and down over the course of a couple
Okay.
months, right? This is one, and when I'm up here, I can recognize I'm up here. I'm up here right now, right? But and then because like I said, I got diagnosed like over 8 years ago, so I read and I research a lot of shit when it came down to this, so I'm fully aware of the way my brain is working and that I can pull myself up, right? But as I'm up here and then I start the journey down, I know I'm going down. I'm aware of going down, and I can see all the assets about me sinking, right? Because I've done my research. I know eventually, if I stick around, I'll come up there. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to be massively depressed. I'm still going to be massively in mental anguish, in pain. It impacts my work. It impacts my job, the things I like to do. It impacts my hobbies, right? It impacts my entire life as a whole. But now, here's the part. I have to make a decision to feel this way every 3, 6, whatever months for the rest of my life. And this is the problem. And this is the problem where it comes into, because like there's like that's just it. That's just all. And so if I want to make a decision like, hey, it's not worth it, right? Then I should be allowed to fucking make the decisions, not to go through all the anguish because of what?
We got a lot
I
of
don't
we
know how
got
you
we
can
got
be
we
both.
got a
Else
lot
that
we
other
got a lot
people
of people.
want?
We got a lot of people. We got to get to them. Don't worry.
They're gonna let all that nonsense last. I guarantee it.
We got to go. So GSU, who's
You,
muted?
buddy.
You're muted, buddy.
Be right back. I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah, I forgot I muted because I was talking earlier. But yeah. So I mean, this topic is kind of close to me. I have a really, really close friend. She was definitely like in my top 2 best friends at the time for probably about 5 years, and she committed suicide. And just like I've had the conversation with her family, her mom, everybody else, I feel like suicide is irrational, regardless of not regardless of the suffering, but definitely outside of like extreme medical cases. And that's like what's at the bottom of how I feel about this topic. And I feel like there's a bunch of things in culture that have caused people to be either hedonic or nihilistic. And I feel like this is like almost like passive eugenics. I think the real solution is that we should notice that we need to invest in these issues, and we need to invest in healthcare to deal with some of these issues. And passively just saying, yeah, we're going to let you take yourself out. I feel like that's avoiding the true problem. I feel like it's a way to let our government not be on the hook for things that they should be taking care of. But also I feel like just like abortion, which I don't want to get into abortion, but these like euthanasia clinics will pop up in the hood, right? For sure. And the government we should let our government be responsible for our healthcare, not just allow individuals that are suffering to do this. So yeah, I feel like
Counter, it's your turn.
Yeah, I wanna back up GSU, and I want to maybe say what Fanatic's going to say, because he convinced me of something the other day, a few months back or whatever. Whereas like the way that we talk about this and the way that you angle yourselves against your depression or anxiety or physical pain is very important for whether or not you're actually going to end up committing suicide. So kind of having like an outlook like, hey, fuck it, I don't know what's going to happen when I die, but I'm going to ride this motherfucker out to the bitter end. That is an attitude that we should be. God damn it! It fucking interrupted. Can you also hear me or not?
We can hear you now. Go ahead, try it again.
We can hear you.
Yeah. So there.
You're
like,
about it again.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Fuck me in the ass.
Okay. We'll get back to you.
We
buddy.
heard that.
Top Dolphin, then Fanatic, and Dooby.
Okay, yeah, I just want to say, specifically when we talk about like drawing lines, currently the way lines are drawn have, from what I understand, have very little to do with like suffering, right? A lot of times, it's especially in this case specifically with physician-assisted suicide, is it has to do with being like dead, right? In X amount of time, which is I think 6 months was it the case in what was this, Colombia? And it's so like you could be like what do they call it when you're like a quad amputee or whatever, where you have no limbs, or
Quadriplegic.
like quadriplegic.
I mean,
maybe
quad
that-
amputee is
No,
right.
quadriplegic
Quad
doesn't mean-
amputee is
Quadriplegic
right.
is paralyzation, I think. But
Yep.
Yeah.
you could be like
Yep.
you could have like both arms and legs amputated. You could be like, there's a lot of things that you have that like permanently fuck your life that this currently doesn't apply to. And you could argue that it like does, and we could expand that. But like specifically the physician assisted suicide talks about like killing people who are like dying. And like when doctors come, it's not when your friend comes in and says, oh, like there's no hope. It's when, or oh, you can get over it. It's when doctors say like medically there is nothing else we can do. I'm not sure where this falls. Like I know with like dementia and Alzheimer's, there's like they're like because you don't technically die from it, right? It's just like, but like I think there's like you're quote unquote brain dead because you're not there anymore or whatever. You're not living reality. But I'm not sure like where the medical community. There's like a lot of papers on it, but there's not a lot of like I don't see like official like American Medical Association like doctrine on it. I couldn't find, but when it so like even the case like depression and stuff wouldn't fall under this because it would go until doctors would say like, hey, you're going to die and there's nothing else we can do about it.
Well, yeah, that's why we have the line, because once you don't have that line and you just say misery in general, like others have said here, and then you start going to like, well, what if someone's in misery because of depression? What if they're in misery because of like PTSD? And that's when we start getting just beyond the physical trauma. That's why the line's important.
So, two things. Like one,
Hold on. We gotta.
sorry.
Yeah, we gotta. So let's.
Yeah.
Fanatics are waiting.
my bad.
Fanatic, you're muted.
Fanatic, you're muted.
You're muted.
There we go. I forgot White Rice's point earlier, so I don't even know how to address that anymore. I'm sorry. New Salsa, you were saying that do you believe in limitations at all for like suicide?
Yeah. So like the first point that I said, right, was that like if you want to begin this process, it's going to be an extensive process. You're going to go through an entire range of help. You're going to have everything available to you, and like it's not going to be like someone can't complete this process in like 3 months or 6 months, or if it's talking to experts to figure out if it's going to be something that stick up to a year, 2 years, something along those lines. It wouldn't be. I explicitly said you wouldn't be able to go like in the Futurama suicide booths, like I'm done, blah blah blah, and go. It would be an actual process to make sure this is the decision you actually want to do.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing was you said something about like having a problem with someone using the phrase rut. What exactly is like what does the word rut mean to you? Because it seems like rut is like literally a perfect description, like a short space in time, which is temporary, and which like people are like undergoing negative things. That seems like that's the description of what a rut is, and it seems like that's typically what happens. Or even if it's not short, a periodic occurrence of something is a rut. So then in that case, a person who's going through depression of some kind, it's a rut. When you're in that low spot, like even like for like manic depressives, right? Like you're in this place for a while, and then you're back on the high space, and then you're back. It's literally like a wave. And so during the time when they're in the low place, it's a rut. It's a period of time, right? Like where before they're back into their high spirits again, right? So why would the word rut be a problem if it is an accurate description of the actual problem?
So the way the rut would be a problem when actually talking about this is probably because the way other people also use this term to talk about whenever they just have a breakup, or whenever they they just like fuck my football team down, or they're in like financial insecurity for like a tiny bit amount because the car broke down and they didn't have the finances. Like, oh fuck, I'm in a rut, right? And so it's the belittling of the action, because if you were to tell that to depressive people, right, of like it's like, oh, you're just in a rut, right? We don't say rut to talk about and to describe extremely serious actions, right? If like your spouse were to die tomorrow, I would never say, oh, you're just in a rut, dog, you'll be okay tomorrow, right?
Of course not.
Right, but and it's like it's the usage of the term, because if you want to say like strictly definitionally, right, especially in my case, you're right, it is a periodic of time. I'm gonna exit. It's whatever. However,
sure. So that's why
the way that we use it, we don't use it that way to describe serious fashion.
No. You would. Anything that's going to be serious but periodic, right? Like, so like for the wife thing, you wouldn't use the word rut specifically because you recognize that like this is final. There's no coming back from this. This is permanent. So you wouldn't use the word rut there. But so the word rut wouldn't even apply. But for a person with depression, the word rut does apply because it is temporary, right?
Yeah,
Well,
but
it
what
can
you
be,
also said
not
before,
necessarily.
right, is like so for bipolar, the low points you might call them ruts, but the endless cycle of going through high and low points isn't a rut. It's permanent, right?
Sure. Okay,
It's
right.
a low point. It's a rut.
Right. The low point is the rut.
No.
You would say,
Yeah,
hold
no,
on.
the
No.
low point might be the rut.
By definition, the low point is a rut while you're in it. However, the cycle, the overall cycle is going to be, that's going to be something that's going to be continuing, endless, and never ending. But by definition, when a person that's bipolar, like is in their low point, that by definition is a rut because it is periodic. It's not forever. So yes, they can say bipolar and my disorder as a whole is not a rut, but the low point is a rut. And that means that like there are low times, there will be like high times where like things are amazing and life is great and everything is the way they want it to be, and those like those are also going to be present. So
I agree, right? It literally means that, but it's the issue with the way that people use the word in modern times, right? When they describe something that is very temporary and oftentimes isn't that big of a deal, they use the term rut. You don't like I said, the financial insecurity for a little bit, like I got a pop tire, had a bad week at work or whatever, we use that term rut. And so
wait, hold on. You're saying that doesn't apply there? You're saying it should?
No, I'm saying it does. I'm saying it does. But I'm
Okay.
saying so when people say that term, right, it most often too is applied to those like very quick, sudden things, right? When I'm and the issue that I took offense to, right, is like it also makes it and it highlights it, it's quick and it's sudden and it's not going to be there forever, right? I think it highlights that.
No. By definition,
What-
rut just means it's periodic.
No, I understand. We're in agreement
And-
when it comes down to the definition.
Okay, so then
Now
if
we're
we
talking about the
understand
way
that,
that people
then-
actually
so-
use the words.
I got you. Good. So in the way that people actually use it, when that pop tire happens, or like there's like a downtime at the job, they're still referring to something that's periodic. Rut means it's periodic. So people use it for like insignificant things that are periodic because rut is a period. It's a period, right?
Right.
So then
Yeah,
they would
but
use it for that.
but white rice and new salsa are saying that can feel dismissive to people who have chronic pain or chronic mental issues because they're
People wouldn't
basically saying
use. No, people wouldn't
yo,
use the word rut for
I'm
chronic
just-
issues. They don't. That has not been salsa's
Depression
problem.
is chronic, though.
No. Right. Depression is chronic, but when we're talking about a rut, we're referring to a specific point in time of the depression in which someone is having a downtime. We would not refer to the uptime as a rut. So we're talking about a specific period
Fanatic.
of the depression, which has two different factors.
All right,
of
Fanatic,
one,
you're
both an
trying to-
uplifting and a negative one. So that's
say-
why it wouldn't apply for something chronic, something permanent. We wouldn't use the word rut for that. And
Okay,
so we've already pointed out. Why would you go back to that?
Can I say one
Because
thing to you though?
Yeah, go.
Okay. Can I say one thing to you though on that point? Is that so like like Salsa's experience isn't like everybody with depression's experience. And I know you're not saying that, but like it kind of feels like people who don't deal with it are basically describing like depression as kind of like a monolith. And like whereas Salsa might have like these really, really high highs, but also really, really low lows, other people with depression, it's almost like just kind of a constant low with maybe just a little blip of it going up every now and then.
Sure.
And so
also describing manic depression and like that's what he's describing.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is another word for bipolar. So that's
Yeah.
they
And-
are different things. I understand.
yeah,
that.
and so
course.
like when people like when people like say it as like, oh, you're going through a rut, like you can make it through it, like people who have it and who are experiencing it are like, but this isn't one of those low lows, this is just my constant, like
Can
I
we
am
get
just
back to the topic?
Yes,
It
but
sounds
it's-
like y'all
you're
don't like the
still-
words. No, it
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like
fine, right?
people are using words differently, and maybe some people take offense to it. Okay, but can we get back to the topic?
Well, I just want to know. I want.
No, Dooby's waiting. Go ahead, Dooby.
So yeah, I think I think when you cross from the physical pain to the fucking like mental anguish is where it obviously gets complicated. I mean, clearly, because I don't think it makes sense to just say that you can live with this stuff, or hey, you can find a way. Because there are a lot of people who maybe can't afford the medications they need to live with the mental issues that they have, right? So do we? I mean, I guess most of you probably support some form of like single payer healthcare, some shit to get those people help. But right now that doesn't really exist, right? So a lot of people that have chronic mental health issues that just don't really have the medication for them. But there are people who do have the medication who feel like they're a slave to this bottle of pills, right? And if they don't take it every single day, if they miss a couple of days, they just fall into this deep hole, and they need to find a way to get through for until the medication kicks back in. And there are other people who have problems that you can't really treat with just like by just shrugging them off. Like, for example, I hate this. Is just it's fresh in my mind, so I'm just gonna use it as an example. So last night when I was fighting my mother to take the court off from that, one thing she kept saying is, if it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow or next week or next month. It's gonna happen, right? And that she was tired of going on, and she was sick of it, and she didn't want to deal with it anymore. She didn't want to feel it anymore. And I think someone said earlier that like, it's selfish. Right? It's selfish for people to want to check out. But I've honestly been thinking, like, was it selfish for me to stop her? Is it selfish for us to say, hey, yeah, you do have to go through this chronic depression, or maybe you have like you're paranoid schizophrenic, and hey, you do need to go through it, because you're not going through it makes me feel bad. right? I'm gonna be sad. I'm gonna feel like I didn't do enough, right, to keep you around if you make this decision. Like, is that like I don't know. I don't know. I don't really. I don't
Yeah,
know
to
where the line
respond
is.
to that
It's
because
really
I'm the one
sure.
who said that.
Okay.
Um,
And
I
Fanatic, can you
do
mute yourself, please?
I do understand that, right? I feel like when you're in someone's life, and it's like, for example, as a mother, right? Or like, for me, like as a son, like I have people who love me, who care about me. I have responsibility to people, who would do a lot of things, if not sacrifice themselves, to make sure my well-being is okay. And I think it is extremely selfish to end it all and cause, if not more misery, if not more harm, because suicide clustering is a thing that um that I would cause more harm. I would feel like it's selfish that I would just deny help, right? And I just, nope, fuck it, it's done, and not try to fight it, right? And I feel like that fight is never ending, but I don't like you shouldn't give up. Like, if you still have people around you that care about you, that would do anything to stop you from doing it, there is a reason to stick around, right? And I hope that person gets that help, and I really hope they get that support, and that is why I feel like it's selfish. And yes,
But
we do see.
Asian, some people
I
just
understand
don't.
where.
Some people just don't have anybody, right? So I've got a. I don't want to say I have a close family. I don't get along with my parents at all. But some people don't even have that, right? They don't
Yeah.
have friends.
If
So
you talk
some
about
of these people, they don't really have the support structure to get them through the day, right? So like, do we just something that you need to suffer? You can't go to a hospital and go through the steps to make sure that you really want to make this decision, and then check out or whatever in a dignified way, right? If you want to do it, you need to go find a tree somewhere, right?
Yeah,
like
well,
that's
I-
I don't
in
know.
this
if
in
that-
the
I don't know if that's-
hypothetical of in the hypothetical of this, one person who has no one in their life whatsoever, they're dealing with misery and they've exhausted all their options. I would still want to help that person, and that is why I do believe, the fucking in healthcare, mental health care, to help that person. But if they've exhausted all options, they have no one in their life with them, they have no support structure whatsoever. If they do decide to go out, it's a fucking shame. And it is a
this
fucking
is the
travesty.
yeah
And
yeah.
I
This is the thing.
don't want that.
We talk
But
about so much on the left about, hey, we need to be there for people that have disadvantaged situations. Like, it's ridiculous to me that people on the left feel this way. Like, we have homeless people, we have people dealing with mental health that don't have the like money to afford it. We have certain communities that have higher rates of suicide because of like social acceptance. We have all of these issues. And the answer is, oh yeah, let's just let these people take themselves out. It's like such a cop out to me on society to have this take. Like, it's literally a disinvestment in people. Like, we should care about people. We should care about their conditions. We should try to provide the mental health or overall health care that they need. And it's ridiculous to say, yeah, we're just going to set up a booth and we're okay with any conscious adult saying, hey, we should do. And maybe some people even go to kids. I'm scared to even ask that
I
because
don't
some of
think
the
a
stuff
single person
that some of y'all
advocated for
say.
that, so I don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah, and like
I don't think not a single person advocated for setting up a booth. I think everybody advocated for getting all the necessary
No,
mental health, that.
so I feel like that's
forward.
so you're drawing the
Like,
distinction there. I think it's as reprehensible. So yeah, I'm not straw manning you. I think you're modify my words from not being
okay,
whatever it was to whatever
okay.
you just said.
All
Yeah,
right, no,
but
that's fine, right? But like, let's now frame it where someone does have the access to all the mental help, right? Literally everything. They have the family structure that they should have had. They have people with them. They're
I still
able
wouldn't
to,
be
they don't
okay
have
with
to
it.
worry about all this stuff like this. And then they still feel this way.
I
And
think
like, I'm not, like,
so.
is it still the
There,
same
the,
now?
the biggest difference in these situations is, I think, again, it all boils down to like the whether or not these things are final. And I think for me, like, I just as a person who dealt with like depression from like youth until I want to say 2016. Like for me, like the only thing that prevented me from doing something like taking my own life was specifically my faith, like the belief that I'm going to hell if I do something like that. Because I just didn't like being here in any capacity. Didn't like whatever. That's where my brain was at that point in time. And I look at now and how amazing life is, like just how much everything turned around. It started in 2016, and it's like, man, if I didn't have the faith and I'm like having to interpret your worldview, then now I can say for myself, in hindsight, it would have been a freaking tragedy. Like, had I done something to harm myself and missed out on all of the amazing things that I've like started to experience now, like just in my life. So I think for the same sense, I think for everyone else, I believe that there is life on the other side of depression in which they can experience the joy and exactly the way things are going to be. So I think chemical imbalances sometimes can take a long time to whatever. I think sometimes it just enough therapy like to help people learn how to how to retrain their like mode of thinking and things like that, that can also be like particularly effective. I think their treatment is out there that can like actually help these people, and I think, yeah, agreeing, it's just giving up and just saying like, well, like, yeah, it kind of sucks what you're going through. So yeah, I'll co-sign it. Go ahead and offer yourself. I just think that's like the worst thing, especially we on the other side of it who recognize that these things are temporary. I just think it just seems so wrong.
Yo,
Yep.
can I try to talk while I got
counter and then top and then
all right, and until my internet explodes, because I'm gonna try to fucking bridge the gap between these perspectives. I think I have been salsa and white rice in the past. I have chronic pain issues. I've also had existential crises from dealing with mortality and military service and pain and all that kind of stuff, and also having some friends check out. And basically, what happened was the horizon in my world shrunk down to the immediate areas around me, and I didn't see myself in the future. I'm also sympathetic to Fanatic, where basically holding on can save you. I killed myself in 2012. But I did.
That's
And
Roboting.
it's okay, got it.
Okay, you got. Well,
That came through.
we will definitely come back to you. I want to hear your story. Okay, all right. Top Dolphin, White Rice, and Dionysus.
Yeah, so something I think that's also very so personally me, I get kind of uncomfortable when we start talking about like physician assisted suicide and euthanasia for people who are like depressed or have like mental ailments. And the reason is because we just don't know a lot about a lot of these things yet, right? Like with terminal illness, a lot of times we can draw, like a doctor can say at any point, like, this is the point where like you're fucked, right? Like it sounds rough, but like we can kind of say that as a doctor when it comes to something like Lou Gehrig's disease, or when it comes to something like terminal cancer that's like radiation resistant and chemotherapy resistant. But like mental health and like psychological stuff is like a lot more new and a lot less studied, and we don't know the limits of it yet. So like maybe in the future, if we get to a point where we could like identify individuals, it's like we've been through all these things, and like after that point, like the only way you get better is a gift from God, and you're just fucked. Then like maybe I would be a little bit more comfortable with saying, yeah, that depressed person should be able to have access to physician assisted suicide, or that bipolar person should have access to physician assisted suicide, or that schizophrenic person. But I don't know if that should be the case right now, just because we just don't know. Like as far as I'm pretty sure as far as like we're concerned, in like the in the like mental health community, everything is either manageable or everything is either like manageable or curable, right? Like everything can be gotten over because we don't know where the limits of things are.
Okay. White Rice, Dionysus.
Yeah. Okay, so so the where I kind of come down on this is that and like unfortunately like this might be like a really bad take to you guys, but if I'm somebody who wants physician assist suicide and I want to kill myself, I'm going to find a way to do that regardless of whether or not it is legal. The great thing about physician assisted suicide is that it makes it so much easier, and it makes it so that I'm able to put a timeline on what I'm doing. There is also the point where, like, luckily for me, my son keeps me from like ever having these thoughts. Granted, I've done a bunch of other things, but having my 8-year-old kid, every time I see him, like it just erases everything that I may have because I put my like entire existence into him. The problem is not everybody that goes through this stuff has like has somebody that they can put this into. They don't have the support group or anything like that. And therefore like they may not ever see the end. And then like what you were saying, Top Dolphin, were like mental health is like a new thing. And I feel like that leads to another issue where we don't know exactly how SSRIs work. And because we don't know that, you have a lot of people that just continuously keep getting false hope, where they have doctors saying, this is going to help you. They start taking a drug and they think, okay, I'm going to feel better. Everything's going to be better after this. And then it doesn't work. And I've known people that have gone through like 6 different SSRIs, constantly thinking, this is going to get better for me. And it doesn't. And then it just makes it that much worse every single time they think that they're going to get better, and they don't. And they start thinking like, maybe just this is just what I am. This is who I am. This is what like the cards that I'm dealt, and fuck it, I can't change that. That's where you start getting to the point where like suicide becomes a real fucking thing.
Yeah, but the problem is, right, when you like I agree with you 100%. But the problem is that like as a society, if we want to like draw lines, when it comes to physical ailments currently, like we can draw those lines. Those are lines that are able to be drawn. We can say once you've done, like for example with cancer, it's like once you've done like chemo, radiation, the X treatment, Y treatment, like this many times, if it doesn't respond and it progresses this far, like you're fucked, and like and you're going to die, right? Or and like this is terminal. But when it comes to like mental stuff, like for every you can say this person's been on 6 SSRIs and none of them have helped. There's a person who went on 7 SSRIs and it did help. We don't know how, and it's also really hard to draw the lines of like where things have progressed. We haven't come that far as a society to be able to draw those lines to where we could safely, consistently say that like, yes, this person is like, that person is medically fucked, and like there is nothing else we can do to help this person. And that's why I think is like, wow, like you can talk about like, yeah, maybe that person killing themselves wouldn't be that bad. I don't know if I would be okay with like drafting policies saying that like physicians can help these people kill themselves, especially like because like what's at that point, like what's the difference to the guy who comes in who's like doesn't have chronic depression, right? Has an acute depression and comes in and feels like everything's over, versus the guy who's been through all the stuff and comes in and feels like everything's over, and that like they want to make the decision to kill themselves. And I think that's like a really, really hard line to draw that like we, with the technology we have, just aren't capable of drawing at this time.
100%. And I want to point out, people make the statement like, well, you know, even if they don't get it medically, like people won't actually do it, right? Some people will actually do it, but the thing is, we don't know which ones are which, right? Like some people will chicken out like midway through, and the chicken out is a bad way of saying I don't like that. Some people will, you know, like just for lack of whatever, they just won't do it. Like they will like hesitate, or like they don't have the will to like force themselves to do it, right? Their self-preservation will prevent them from doing it. But if they can, the more they can remove themselves from it by, say, signing a piece of paper and leaving it in the hands of a doctor, then one, it can give them the mental justification in their brains of like, well, see, I'm not the one doing this. Like, I'm morally not doing this. It's someone else doing it, right? Because some people might have some moral impositions. Then there's also like the idea of like some people, again, not having the like courage in the moment, like because self-preservation is just too strong, so then they can't like do it. So then like that can prevent some people from doing it, and so on and so forth. So there's plenty of people who, because of the lack of euthanasia, won't actually do it. So yeah, we can't just immediately say, oh, they'll do it eventually. Like I don't think that that's true.
Agents.
I'm not saying
so
eventually, but like
I
feel like people are. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, so
Agent.
a lot to it. Also to piggyback off a point Fnatic made way earlier ago. you know, I do have a lot of my like opinion on this because I am religious, I am Catholic. But like even if, you know, I see like people in chat memeing Sky Daddy bullshit, but like even if like, you're not religious whatsoever and you believe that we are just like, you know, fucking meat sacks walking the earth with just like this frame of time of like consciousness, like even if you do believe in that, there is shit to live for, right? You know, there's a bunch of fucking pleasures you could like hedonist bullshit, right? You go down and fucking enjoy, be like, you know, multiple fucking drugs, like anything fucking screaming at degenerates on panels, right? That could give you happiness, other relationships you have, right? There's
True.
something, no matter like religion based or fucking just not religious based, there's some value to life.
There, if I may really quickly, if
on.
I'm able to do this, this is why I think an orienting principle is so important. This is actually why I like Jordan Peterson, is to basically say like, hey, I'm fucked, but I can orient myself.
Prime
Happened
attacked
again?
you because you said it.
You said
Prime
Jordan
attacked you.
Peterson.
God,
and it
You
fucked
said
you.
Jordan
Damn it.
Peterson. Prime was like, nah, buddy.
Yeah.
I know.
I just
It's-
well, in this lull, I gotta give justification for chat because I know it's gonna drive people insane. It's not as simple as go do something else.
Yes, sir.
It's not as simple as go do something else. It's not as simple as go down the heathenist route.
Well, no one here is saying that. That's not what I
you
was trying
said
to
that.
say.
You said that.
Well, no, I was saying for people who say it's just religions while you have that. No, there's other things you can.
No,
And you
but
could
I'm
even play
saying
into
like to,
hedonism.
in
I'm not
order
saying
to,
all you have
in
to
order
do
to-
is hedonist and everything's okay. That's not what I'm saying.
No, that I don't give a fuck about that. That's I don't care if we go down the heat. The point is this is oftentimes misconstrued by people who necessarily haven't experienced depression. I'm not saying you haven't because I don't know you, but I'm saying that it's not as simple as go try this other activity or go do anything. There's no motivation to do anything
He
for
didn't
some
say- he
people,
wasn't
right?
suggesting that.
I'm well aware.
Absolutely
Suggesting that.
zero.
I'm
So it's just
well
like
aware.
this type
Not
of
what
I-
thing
you
ain't
just
fucking
heard
working.
him. He didn't say that. He didn't say this is a solution. He wasn't voicing it in any way, shape, or form as a solution. He didn't say anything like that. That's not what he was saying at all. I don't know how you heard that. He's telling you over and over. I didn't say that. That's
Maybe
not
I
what I'm
missed it.
saying.
Right? Maybe I missed it. If I missed it, I missed it. I'll take your word. That's it. I missed
We
it.
also have to understand that like we can directly tie a lot of mental health in our population to things like advertising, social media, looking at the people and thinking like you can compare yourselves to them, even though the life that you're looking at might be fake. Like there's so much in our society that's BS that causes people to be nihilistic. that It's ridiculous to even like offer this as a solution. Like,
Okay.
No,
Like,
I want to try because I minimized my screen, so hopefully you guys can hear me for more than 30 seconds. So the reason why I like Jordan Peterson is because of an orienting principle. Okay, it's basically the orienting principle is saying that like, hey, life is fucked up, things are falling apart, shit's gonna be bad, you're gonna lose people you love, all of that kind of stuff. But it's your job to wake up and put one foot in front of the other because you are an agent of order. And when you do things like that, so for instance, using people in this room as an example, white rice, when you have chronic pain, you can feel like not doing anything at all. Like fuck getting up, fuck standing up, fuck doing anything. But when you have that orienting principle as a foundational part of your perspective, then you can say like, hey, it's my job, things suck, but it's a part of my orienting philosophy to try to make the world a little bit better for myself today than it was yesterday. So I'm going to stand up. I'm gonna walk for 10 minutes. I'm gonna do something like that. I'm gonna do yoga or some shit. And like in that kind of mindset has helped me. And I did talk about like horizon shrink because I don't know if I'm projecting or whatever, but it's also like I don't know if I'm projecting, but like but what I was gonna say is I did distract my things when I got out of the service with a bunch of really fun things, women and booze and all that kind of shit. And to Dionysus's point, like that was a good distraction for a little bit, but whenever that fell through, whenever I didn't have that, it was just emptiness and just anxiety and fear and thinking about all the things that I had done and how close I came to getting fucking whacked. And then also thinking about like the people who did die that shouldn't have died and how short life is and how everything is kind of downhill from here. And that kind of spiral it's a self-fulfilling spiral. it's something that you can fall down into, which is the only thing that pushed me through was kind of like Fanatics thing, where I was raised religious, so I didn't want to fucking track myself. And then because I gave myself enough time, even just now, I'm coming out of the darkness. I can see a horizon where I'm 30 or 40 and I'm a family man and I can be around and enjoy my life and all that kind of shit. But number one, it takes time. And number two, it takes an orienting principle. And I think that if you look at all the religious people here, I think what they're scared of when they hear White Rice and New Salsa saying like, hey, it's ultimately your individual decision or whatever, they're thinking that people are going to miss out on that opportunity because they choose to check out early. And there's medical consensus to grant that opportunity for them to check out early. And I think that's the fear that they're articulating. And it's the fear that I'm articulating too, because I was in the same boat as everybody here.
No, I see your point, and like I'm super lucky. Like, and I consider myself extremely fucking lucky, especially because I know like how bad it can be for some people. Like, I not only have my son, like I mean it's different than some of you. Like, some of you guys are Catholic, or maybe some of you guys are Protestant. You just have faith, whatever. Like, I'm so I'm Buddhist, and like at the end of the day, I feel like I should be trying to make myself the best possible person I can be and try to make the world a better place, like you were saying, Counterpoints. And so, like, I have these things going for me, and like, it doesn't, like, I don't have a deity for it, but I have these things going for me that are helping pushing me through. And like, it's been, I can't, like 7-8 years since I've been out of the service, 9 years since I've been dealing with these issues since I got out of the Navy. And like, they don't go away, and like, it's something that is constantly there. And like, where I'm saying I'm lucky is because other people don't have these things, and like, I
Can I just push
have
back
what can
against
be
that
a
though?
support issue.
I don't like that because, like, here's the deal, right? Like, and I'm sorry for your experience, and I'm sorry that like you're going through that at this point. But I just really have to push back against the idea that these things don't go away, because that's your experience thus far. And you could have asked me up until I was around 29, I want to say, and I would have told you the same thing. This is just what life is, because that's what life was for me. But they do go away. There is light on the other side of the tunnel. Life can be beautiful, and it sucks that some of us are dealt extremely bad hands, and we have to overcome so much nonsense and like learn to process it and fight all these inner demons and all this other nonsense. That sucks. Life sucks. Sometimes we're dealt a really, really terrible hand, but there is light on the other side of that tunnel. And I don't want any people listening to this to get this mentality that depression is forever, because I thought it was forever. I had adjusted to it of just like, that's life. You can look on my Twitter feed during that time, and I'd be saying stuff, not even recognizing that I was projecting depression, but I would say stuff like, man, like life is so good right now and everything is great. And I would say in that same post, so it's just a matter of time before things get back ugly. Because I knew it was going to happen, because that's the way life was for me. And that's what I just thought life was. I just thought that's everything I'd ever known since like before I was 10. So
Can I ask you a question, Fanatic?
Go ahead.
Do you know, like, looking back on it now, do you like can you point to like a specific reason why you were feeling the way you were feeling? Like, do you think that it was like,
No,
like,
it was so ridiculous, because it would happen oftentimes during the time that I'd be the happiest. Like, I would win a major tournament, or I'd like sign a bunch of autographs at a freaking major, and it'd be like, wow, this is crazy. I can't believe this is what life is becoming for me. And then literally I would go to my hotel room after that, and then I would feel so disgusted and empty, and just like, man, like, what's the point of life though? What really, what does all of this stuff mean? Like, what, like, and I would feel like hopeless and just like, ugh, like, I don't know, or I'd like strive for like to win a tournament, and the first time I finally won one, like, I was happy for 20 minutes, and then like immediately afterwards, I'd like walk away and just be like, oh, like, what's like, okay, I guess what's next? And
so
it's
for you
never,
then-
nothing was good.
yeah, so for you then, like, it sounded like you were pointing to like, it was religion that kind of pulled you out of it,
For me,
or like kind of helped.
Yeah, for sure. It was a combination. Like, I don't want to get into religion. I'll just say for me that yes, my faith. Yeah, religion had a big thing to do with me.
Did you have faith throughout this period?
I did, and that was the other part of. Yeah, go ahead.
So like the reason why like I was even bringing that up is because there's a lot of people that are dealing with this who, like, one, they can't point towards anything that, like, they don't know, like, it's just how they feel. Like, no, they've been to plenty of doctors. No doctor can point to exactly how they feel. And a lot of the time when they're prescribing SSRIs, they're like, honestly, I'm sure the doctor's probably thinking like, I don't know if this is actually going to work, but like it might work. So we're going to prescribe it because like I said, we don't know exactly how SSRIs work. But then like you were kind of lucky that you had that faith to you. Like you had something there. A lot of people don't have that. They don't have faith. Like they've tried faith. They don't have it. They don't have family. They have friends maybe, and they've tried to talk to their friends maybe, but like that doesn't always work because the problem is like not everybody like I can talk to somebody all day about the problems that I deal with, and my brother can talk to somebody all day about his PTSD issues. But unless you're talking to somebody who's able to actually fully understand what you're going through, and it's hard to find that, man. Like I don't know where you live, but where I live, it is fucking hard to find that. Like it can feel like you are completely alone at all times.
Yeah, and nobody else understands.
Can I address this? Number one, White Rice and New Salsa, like my DMs are open, like, and you guys are definitely cool enough that I want to talk to you again, one-on-one or on panel scenes, whatever. But also, I want to clarify my experience with drugs in particular. I didn't get on SSRIs, and I don't think I ever had depression. I think I had anxiety. So, and basically what happened is I had this like negative cycle of nerve pain, being anxious in public places, because basically public places are where people try to fucking kill you, right? And yeah, so basically what happened was I went on like a geriatric dose. This is literally like shit that they're prescribing to 80-year-olds. A geriatric dose of anxiety medications that had a side effect of decreasing nerve pain. Specifically, it's called Cymbalta. So my nerve pain was decreased. I felt like a zombie for 2 weeks, so that absolutely sucked. But then when my body got adjusted to it, what ended up happening was I found myself going down that negative spiral that I think somebody mentioned, where it's like things are good, but they're going to go wrong. This is what can go wrong right now. Here's what I'm trying to do, and here's how it's going to fuck up. Here's the relationship that I'm in, and here's how it's going to fuck up. And what would happen is that thought would start, and then what would happen is the drug would literally interrupt my ability to feel that emotion. Now, on one hand, that's terrifying because you feel like you're not your authentic self. You feel like you're not you because you're not thinking with a sober mind. On the other hand, what that did is it gave me space. It was kind of like working out with an injury, right? If you keep working out with like an injured shoulder or something like that, you're going to make it worse. And that's kind of the way the emotions were, where by giving myself the space to not think those negative thoughts, I was able to then turn around and look at what I was actually doing and what I wanted to achieve, and then kind of reorient myself. Like I said, I think this has to be combined with purpose, whether that's like religious or philosophy or Buddhism or Jordan Peterson or whatever. But once I had that like foundational block of no matter what happens, I'm going to try to make the world a little bit better than yesterday. That orienting philosophy and the space that the drugs bought me allowed me to start seeing a future. Whereas I would say a year ago, 2 years ago, I didn't think that I would make it to my 30th birthday. I didn't think that I would make it to my 25th or my 22nd or my 21st. And if you asked me what I wanted to do in my 30s and 40s, I would not have a fucking answer for you except for be around for my family. And honestly, that wasn't enough psychologically or emotionally for
Now you started
me to feel engaged.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, we got like a 3-minute rant. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah. So just to add to that, like a lot of people meme on the left on Jordan Peterson, but like there's a lot of people who've dealt with these type of issues who have come out and say, hey, adopting this mentality of adopting responsibility is what helped me to feel better. So that's just some of the message that I tell to people that are going through this, because we can understand that these things are real. Like try to adopt as much responsibility as you can, and then you'll hopefully find meaning in life that will make you able to bear the like depression or whatever the specific case is that you're dealing with. This is why Jordan Peterson has been like monumental in a lot of people's lives because
It's,
he's touching the people that feel like they don't
he
have.
has an
There is
ideal.
no pathway.
He has an ideology, and that ideology can be useful to some people. And it's not supposed to be attack, but it's just using it as another example. Just like religion, is an ideology that can be useful to some people. I guess the point is that beyond that, the things that Jordan Peterson says can be damaging. But that doesn't mean that you can't have pieces of an ideology that can be useful. I totally believe when people say that following Jordan Peterson's advice has helped them, has pulled them out. Yeah. But there are other ideologies they could have found that might have also given that same purpose. I don't think anything that Jordan Peterson. Okay, sorry, I'm making this. I don't mean to do that. Sorry, forget it.
There's a lot of people that follow
The
him that
point
would
I just
Yeah,
wanted to back up
disagree with
GSU really quickly. The primary statement that he made is the correlation between responsibility and purpose. Responsibility does not make you happy. Okay, you're not fucking dancing on the rooftops like Mary Poppins with a fucking umbrella and shit and singing fucking songs. But what it does is it gives you a sense of purpose. So White Rice was talking about how his son grounds his life. My son grounds my life. My wife grounds my life. My house grounds my life. My pets ground my life. And through that, I get a sense of purpose. Whereas before, when I was pursuing nihilistic hedonism, where I was just trying to, fuck and drink, that was pleasurable, but it didn't make me happy and it didn't give me a sense of purpose. And that's why that specific tenet spoke to me so deeply.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to Top Dolphin. And Dooby, let's see if you want to have anything to say. But go ahead, Top Dolphin.
Yeah, I just want to say again the White Rice and New Salsa is that I don't necessarily want to discount any of the things that you're saying, and I actually think a lot of what you're saying is true. But I think like I said before, I think the biggest problem is we often try or it sounds like a lot of us are like, well, there is this one perspective of what mental anguish or mental whatever people's mental health struggles is. And the problem is there's so big of a variety of things that we just can't necessarily there's no way for us to define it discreetly in a way that people who could be okay don't get hurt. And in that case, I think we should, until technology gets better and research gets better, I feel like we should err on the side of caution and assume that everyone's going to get better rather than worse. Because because at the end of the day, you can say that oh yeah, well there's I'll even go out because I think I can't remember who said this, but there are people out there who just don't everyone's like, oh, I have that internal drive or I have that internal motivation or I want to get better. There are people out there who just don't have that. Their life sucks and they just don't have the want to unsuck it. They don't have the want to get better. It just suck is reality and they want to end it, right? And those people do exist, but we don't really have a way and to tell the difference between that person and someone like Counterpoints who made it through it. And we can't, and the problem is we can't rely on an individual who's not living in a succinct reality necessarily, whose mental capacity is not all there to make the decision to end their own life, and even with the assistance of a doctor.
Dooby.
All right, so check it out.
I want to make sure I get Dooby in. And we also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm stuck on that question. I think so. I totally understand where some of you are coming from. Sometimes you can get through depression. You can change your life, and things can get better, and things like this. But for some of these people, it's like what if you're you have chronic paranoid schizophrenia, right? And if you miss your medication, your life goes to shit. So you're like a slave to this pill bottle. And I've known people who've had really, really, really bad depression. And if they miss a medication for a day or two, they fucking fall into a hole, right? And the fact that they were basically tied to this medication forever, and they needed to take this medication just to feel semi okay for a day, was that was hard, right? That's not an easy thing to be tied to a pill bottle, and you got to make sure that you're keeping your medication stocked every day and shit. So like what? And there's some shit that you can't really treat, that you can't treat with therapy or medication. You can't treat with, a family, or, there's some traumas that just linger, right? And they eat at people. So like, what am I guess where I'm stuck at is like, what right do I have to tell somebody they need to deal with this because it makes me feel better when they're around?
Well, that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is because it's not, the underlying reasoning is never that do this because it makes me feel better. I think the underlying rationale is typically that we want you to do this because we have evidence that pretty much suggests that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and eventually these feelings
some
will
people.
dissipate. For the vast majority of people, when it comes to like mental issues and things like that, with time, depression can be healed. There is a light.
Depression. Like there are other things other than depression, right? Like,
oh, so you mean like things like terminal illness? Because those things
no,
we already
not those things.
Okay,
No,
what
I'm
things?
talking about like chronic paranoid schizophrenia, or just the
Sure.
fact,
So, okay,
just the
great.
knowledge. Hold on, just
Mhm.
the knowledge that they were sexually assaulted repeatedly, right?
Mhm.
Just knowing this, right? This
Yeah.
this
Can
fact in
I-
their brain all
So
day.
what I want really
Like,
quickly, let me
Yeah,
address
I don't
that
like
because
the
they made
fact
this
that the
multiple
vast
times. So for
majority-
we recognize already when it comes to even things like paranoid schizophrenia. There are there's psychiatrists who will eventually get the medication right that will help those people to be able to be functional, such that things like paranoid schizophrenia dealt with and can be lived with. The earlier you catch it, the better. But it's not like that thing is something that's permanent, which is why I am so much an advocate against suicide, because I understand how it feels. Like, especially the younger you are, everything feels like it's forever. Like there will never be another a light at the end of that tunnel. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and plenty of people have experienced it. Plenty of people live it, and life becomes something that's beautiful and something that can be cherished. So I would always suggest, yes, like in these cases, most of these people will be able to be helped for sure. So when it comes to even things like the knowledge that someone was like repeatedly sexually assaulted, we have psychiatrists and psychologists and therapy and things like that to help people learn to process those things such that it's no longer a relevant harm to them. And I think that's something that we should be advocating for. What?
Doobie, can
Okay,
I?
yeah,
Can
I
I?
think you're
So please,
overstating.
Doobie.
Literally, I'm sorry. What my mother does is she's a licensed clinical psychologist and a licensed clinical family therapist. I've heard some of the most. She never has ever told me any of the names of any of these individuals. I mean, some of the most abjectly horrific things that I've ever witnessed in humanity have happened to some of her clients. And the thing is, like after a certain amount of time and with a lot of healing and a lot of help, and those people can eventually get to the other of that thing, where those things, molestation and rape and all of these other heinous things, do not have to forever remain as the defining factor of these people's lives. There is a light at the end of that tunnel. Suicide should not be the thing that's sought after. There is help for these people.
Doobie.
Can I-
Hold on. Doobie.
Okay, but Fanatic. So given that this is possible for a lot of people, right? That a lot of people do get to the other side of this. But what if this requires like lifelong therapy or lifelong visits to psychiatrists or lifelong medication, or maybe the medication doesn't exist yet and we're telling them they should wait until it comes out because someday this is gonna be fixed, right? Like why? It is me telling them, hey, yeah, I know you're suffering, but wait, don't go anywhere, right? You need to keep suffering because someday it might get better.
Yeah.
And
Can
I don't know
please-
if I have the right to tell somebody that. Like,
Can I please
We're
address this
not saying
directly?
that.
Fanatic, can I please?
Go ahead. I hope you do a good job. Please do.
Thank you. So basically, Doobie, this is kind of what I was thinking is like, I don't know how old your mom is. Maybe she's like, in her 60s, 70s, 50s, whatever. And I was kind of thinking to myself, it's like, how much do you have to contribute? And what I kind of realized was this gets back to the Jordan Peterson thing where it's like a lot of people who are defined by trauma or illness or whatever, one of the main things that they can do is they can help other people who have experienced similar trauma or illness and adopt responsibilities related to that. So you're not necessarily trying to save yourself because ultimately these people aren't concerned with saving themselves. They're concerned with saving other people who have experienced similarly related things. So for instance, like white rice, if you had specific knowledge that helped alleviate chronic physical pain that you could share with other people who were experiencing chronic physical pain, you would probably have some kind of positive feedback loop where even if you to have good days, you were able to do that. And that's the thing for me. It's like there's so much shit to do. There's kids who don't have families, there's pets who need to be adopted, there's garbage to be fucking cleaned up, there's fucking communities that need to be improved. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like the answer, salvation might not be in yourself. It might be in other people. And I think we need to include that in the calculus.
Yeah, and you're right. Like they're but like I said, I'm severely lucky. Like I have days where I dissociate and like I just can't be fucked with. I'm like, fuck off world. But some of my closest friends who deal with chronic depression, my worst day of dissociating doesn't even come close to their average day. Like where I'm just like, I want to lay in bed, fuck the world, fuck you, don't call me. I'm gonna turn off my phone so I don't even have to worry about anything. No, fuck everybody. Doesn't come close to what some of them are dealing with. And like Fanatic, I don't know if you like if you meant this in a different way, but saying can make them functional. The reason why I laughed is because being a functional human being and being a healthy, happy human being are two completely different things. And I'm functional, being that I have to deal with all these things. That doesn't mean that I'm happy. That doesn't mean that I'm
You don't
healthy.
need to be happy.
And like,
so darn it.
what what are you talking about? The whole point of like going through all this therapy and going through all the fucking shit that people with depression and chronic illnesses go through is so that we can be happy and healthy. And like, then I'm sorry, your story isn't everybody else's story.
I didn't
So
say that
I'm
my
gonna
story
have
was everyone else.
no,
Gambit
I know.
This is Gambit talking.
Well, yeah, I know Gambit, but like what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that like
Potentially,
what
your
I was saying to
phrasing of life
but what
and
I was saying
happiness is a part of your
what I was
problem.
saying to Fanatic though is that like the reason why I said your story isn't everybody else's story, Fanatic, and I'm not saying that you were saying that. Like don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm not trying to
Then
put
why are we
words in your
bringing it
mouth.
up? Why are you addressing something
No,
that I didn't say or wasn't believing or wasn't even
I know.
my
Let me finish.
ideology?
Let me finish what I was saying. Because you were basing like your take on like you can get through this and like the vast majority of people off of your story and what your mom has told you being
No.
that she's going to go to
There's
psychologist,
studies
right?
for this things. I'm not just talking about myself,
okay.
my experience, or my mother's word
So
on it.
I
Right?
haven't
I'm
read
talking
that.
about-
I
okay,
haven't read that, and
sure.
please show me your evidence because I haven't seen anything that shows that the vast majority of people with depression are quote curable. Because to my knowledge,
The word
depression,
isn't cure. You wouldn't say cure for
depression
that.
isn't curable. Like you can't get better. It's treatable, and we can help you find a baseline.
But you
Maybe
think everyone who falls into depression, they're terminally depressed their entire
Right?
life?
Like, what are you talking about?
This is the silliest
You
shit.
can't possibly believe that, right?
There's another misunderstanding.
You believe that, White Rice? Answer the question. Don't
Are you
give us
are
a
you
dumbass face. Can
are you
answer
saying
this?
that depression's curable?
Oh my god.
Wait, okay. So
So-
maybe the word cure is probably improper here. Do you think depression is treatable such that it's no longer a significant part of people's lives? Do people get to the other side of depression such that it is treatable, such that it is no longer a significant or defining portion of their life?
So if
Does
you're
that happen?
saying treatable, like where I can give you a drug that you can take it and you may be able to find like a baseline where you can continue
You
to
think that's the only
function
way?
throughout life,
think they all
then
need
yes.
drugs?
But it goes from you are dependent on like your life is
You think every
focused
depressed
around your
person needs
depression
chronic
to your
drugs
life
for the
is
rest of their
focused
lives?
around that drug that
Can you answer the
take
question?
for
You're
the rest of
talking
your
around the
life.
question. Answer the damn question.
Wait, no,
Do you
I
think
wasn't
everyone who
responding to
falls
you,
into
Gambit.
no,
I
let me
wasn't
make sure you
responding to
understand the
you.
question. 'cause you're
Wait,
saying a
shut
whole
up,
bunch of dumb
shut up for
shit
a
to run
second.
away.
Shut up
No,
for
you
a
shut
second.
up. No, I'm
No,
talking.
shut
I'm
up
talking.
because you
You
haven't
shut
dealt
the
with
fuck
this
up.
shit.
You answer the
So
question.
I'm talking
Do
to
you think
Fanatic
that
right now. No,
everyone
shut
who
up
is
because I'm not going to
depressed
respond to you
needs
until
medicine?
I
Okay,
finish
okay,
talking
okay,
because you
okay.
haven't dealt with any of this shit. So I'm
No,
responding to Fanatic,
talking
and then
around
you
the
can ask
question.
your fucking dumbass question.
Talking
Person
around the
who's never dealt with this shit before. Yes, do I think that you
Wait,
can
you don't know
treat?
that though. How do you even know? You don't
He
know
doesn't.
what
He's
someone
just
else's
virtue
experience.
signaling
You
saying
can't
stupid
say
shit.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Why would
Gambit,
you
stop fucking talking. Gambit, stop fucking talking.
okay. Finish your point, and then we got to go to New Sauce. He's been actually waiting.
What I was responding to Fanatic is yes, I think that it can be treatable, but I don't think that there is any evidence. Like I haven't seen the evidence out there that shows that, like, beyond just it being treated to where you're dependent now on a drug to like give you a baseline throughout life, I haven't seen anything out there. And I know that there's cases where they're trying to treat like
It's just so
PTSD and stuff
dumb.
with therapy and
GSU, it's
with like
not.
psilocybin.
It is. It's very
GSU,
dumb.
you don't know
It's
any of this shit.
disgustingly
You are
dumb.
so dumb on this subject.
No,
You don't
it's
know a fucking thing. So shut the
How do you know
fuck
that?
up and back
How
up,
do you know that?
bitch.
Oh
Back
How do
up.
you
boy.
know that?
Okay. All right. Okay.
Oh, you so happy you
Let's-
called me a bitch.
Oh boy. Let's
Bitch.
go to new salsa, and then
Yeah, I really don't know why everybody's even harped on about like whether or not someone has a mental illness or physical illness or anything else like that. If someone who's a sound mind or whatever, they enjoyed their life up until the fucking age of 33, and they were like, you know what, I'm done. I did everything I want to do. The remaining of this life doesn't seem that like good to me. I'm completely sane. I've done everything right. And over a course of period of time, they keep that stance and decided to go with a smile on their face. And like, why the fuck? Like, who are you to tell them no? Like, this is the crux of it all. Like, what is the need to continue to tell people to remain here for what reason? If they make a decision they want to go, especially this particular sane person that I talked about that has no mental issues in this hypothetical, like what, like why? Who are you to dictate
Well,
what
I'm
they
sorry.
can
There's
do?
No,
shit
conversation
to be
makes
done.
No.
I get why conversations loop like this, but here I'll try to break it down again because we definitely did answer this question. It wasn't like this was just avoided. The reason why the thing that we actually stated was because of the fact that we have to, most of us, I don't know, people who actually read, we believe that for the vast majority of these people, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Well, I think there's plenty of evidence to suggest it.
Show
that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't come here with the plans of demonstrating that. We can have a follow-up conversation, and I will show
No,
you.
we don't
whatever-
gotta look at that.
whatever
Did you
you
listen to
need.
what I said? Because you're not
I'm
talking
sorry.
about. You're not talking about the person I'm talking about.
I am. What I'm saying is specifically, we recognize there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and because of that light, most of us believe that instead of allowing people to give into despair, it would probably be more reasonable in the interest of the protection of the life for that individual to allow that individual time and space for them to come to the conclusion that life is actually better than that. It seems like, especially those of us who have experienced depression and have gotten to the other side of it, that we could easily imagine a world in which instead of them respecting like the ability for us to overcome it, we can imagine a world where someone we would have made those decisions had it not been for my faith, had it not been for that. And I'm not the only person. There are people who have experienced life on the other side of depression, who have recognized that life does get better, and know that had they done what had been on their mindset to do before, that they would be in a totally different situation that would be pretty problematic. And so I think all of us, in the interest of those individuals, all of us with brains, in the interest of those individuals, recognize it's probably better to go ahead and protect the lives of those individuals, as opposed to go ahead and say, whatever, screw it. This is what you want right now, even though you probably would have felt differently later on. Whatever, not screw it. Just go ahead and kill yourself. Like, that's what we're thinking. That's what our interest is. That's what our motivation is.
At all.
So you didn't listen to anything.
I listened to literally everything. You said
No.
for what
'Cause
reason?
You're not addressing my point at all.
Just
The
point at
hypothetical
all.
that I brought up was someone who was not going through any type of depression, that was not going through anything. They're perfectly happy and content with the life that they live. And they just like, you know what? I don't want to go here tomorrow. I'm very content and happy with the life that I live. And why do I? So the question I was posing is, who are you in any case to tell this person who lived a very happy life to say like you have to stay? You didn't
Okay.
answer any of that.
There were two
The
parts.
problem is, like, as far as we know, as far as research says,
Hold
like,
on. No. I answered the for what reason portion. So for the other part, I'm gonna go ahead and just call BS on your ridiculous hypothetical. For a well-adjusted, perfectly sane person with a great life that they're content with to just want to kill themselves sounds completely unfounded to me. But if you want me to entertain this ridiculous hypothetical, I would say that most of us would probably assume in those cases that an individual that's well-adjusted and perfectly sane with a great life that's doing that, we'd probably say that this is indicative, as science probably does, as most psychiatrists would probably say, this is indicative of mental health issues, underlying mental health, undiagnosed mental health issues, and so we need to find a way of dealing with these such that this person won't want to kill themselves. That's what we would probably say in those situations, because the thing that you're suggesting right now sounds completely unfathomable and unrealistic.
So do you know why I brought it up forward as a hypothetical? to figure out why the fuck do you still want to dictate whether someone can live or not. I understand this
I already
hypothetical
expressed
is
why.
I
gave you the
understand
why
this
already.
hypothetical is not a very good one, right? Like I understand that these people necessarily don't exist in at least count like mass numbers, but the idea of the hypothetical is to figure out in this case of this person that does is why do you still feel the need to be able to tell this person they can continue doing or they must stay on this earth. That is it.
Right.
That is
And
the
when you
purpose
asked the
of the
question the
hypothetical.
first time, right? When you asked the first, okay, great. It's great you're saying this is the purpose of it, because the first time you asked the hypothetical, all I did was provide the why. I provided you all of my underlying reasons for why I would say that this person needs to stay alive. You said that wasn't enough, and then and forced me to engage with your nonsensical hypothetical, which is literally unrealistic.
Because you didn't engage with the hypothetical. Yes, I'm going to force you to engage with the hypothetical, dog. Like obviously, the fuck. Why the fuck else would I not have? I'm going to say this hypothetical just so I can hear this.
Whatever, and now you just
no, it's my turn to yell with fanatic. I want to yell with fanatic. We can go back and forth.
Bro, I don't think you're thinking what you're
on base as fuck right now.
Okay. I know you're not listening. Man.
Okay.
What an actual idiot.
There you go. There you go. I'll just talk over you the same time, right? Is that what you want? We could do that. We could act like children.
Okay.
We can go back and forth.
I don't give a fuck.
See, here we go. Now we're getting all emotional.
Okay, all right. Dionysus and Top Dolphin. We're on bonus time. We've already gone over the limit. So if you need to step out, that's okay.
Yeah. So to try to steer it back to more of a not
Can we do
that
closing after the next person?
what it did.
Oh,
So when we talked about cure and heal, you're never going to be 100% anything that's ever happened to you. You're never going to go back to 100%. That is not what anyone here is saying. We can help you live with it as least painfully as possible, right? If you break your arm, we got medicine, we got treatments, we got shit that can help you to your arm is better, that is usable, that it impacts you the least as possible, right? Same thing with depression, same thing with other mental illnesses. It's never going to be 100. It never will be 100. The light at the end of the tunnel is not 100%. It never will be 100%. It's just that it's better. Like it's not some magical cure that like I see people shit posting in chat and some confusion here. It's like it's never going to be curable. What we mean by cure is healed. It's not to live with it. That is not impacting your life in a major.
Okay.
So, yeah. So first, I want to say that like medically, there is some such thing as curable. For example, what is it like a lot of STDs or STIs are curable, as in you take a shot of penicillin, you wait 2 weeks and it's done, and you're back to 100%. Depression and mental health things, as far as we know, are all treatable, in which you can get to a point in life in which you can operate on a daily basis. It doesn't mean you'll never have another bad day. For some people, it might mean that you like return to like a completely normal life, but the idea is that you can live a life that's healthy. But to engage with New Salsa's hypothetical, by the way, this hypothetical person who who has no mental illnesses and nothing wrong with their life and is happy and decides that they want to kill themselves, sure, in a hypothetical world in which that person exists, sure, maybe it's okay that they kill themselves. But the problem is when you go creating a society that has rules that allows people to do this, people who are not okay, because right now that hypothetical person, from what we understand, doesn't exist, right? And when we create rules that allows this hypothetical person that doesn't exist to kill themselves, a lot of people who are not okay, who could get treatment and could get better and could get over things, could kill themselves in the process. Right? And we would say that like these people aren't making that choice of a sound mind, and therefore like them killing themselves would be unjust.
But where do we say that those people should have to go through the process of getting better or being treated?
So dumb.
Yeah,
a bunch of times.
yeah. So I'm not sure. I think we're going to loop here. So to my audience, we are going to go into our open walk on panel right after this. We have more content coming your way, so stick around. No need to leave. We have more content. The stream is not over. If you have just found us the stream, hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on. So I'm going live every 6 nights a week. Don't want you to miss out on that. But yes, we have more content afterwards. !point social and chat. To follow us on social media. Jump into follow us on Twitter, and we'll find our channel updates. Jump to our Discord, where you'll that's the heart and soul of our community. All of our conversations happen there. our open panel, which we're going on to next. That happens there. Everything else happens. That's the center of what we're building here. So be a part of that community. We'd love to have you there. And then YouTube is where you'll find the VODs of everything that's happened here. That'll be on YouTube. It won't be here. So go there, like, comment, and subscribe. All right. I'm going to give an outro tease individual, but once again, we have content coming after this. Stick around for that. All right. Thanks for this. This has been a weird one. This is not nothing here has gone to plan, but I think we had some worthwhile conversation, especially with this last part, talking about assisted suicide. And I want to thank everyone before we do anything else. Thank everyone for sharing, because this is a tough one, but we're here for you, all of you. All right. GSU Gambit, thank you for coming through, being a part of this, and sharing your perspective. As always, you're a valued member of this community. So GSU, please tell a little about yourself.
Yeah, I just want to say a couple things. So, I'm not on mute. Okay, good. Yeah, that was all types of nonsense said today. There's a claim that all depressed people need medicine in perpetuity. There's so many different types of depression, and to say such a idiotic statement, I don't even understand why some people get invited. But just more to the topic. I think that there's a lot of issues in our society. I think that some of these things are exacerbated by technology improvements that we've had, and a lot of other things. I think to look at poor people or Black people or trans people or veterans or the homeless or victims of crime like rape and incest, or all the other demographics that have a disproportionate higher suicidality rate, to look at all of their issues and advocate for such a position like this rather than help and healthcare that we all used to advocate for on the left. It's disgusting to me. I think it's irrational, irresponsible, disgusting, and a whole bunch of other words. So I advocate for Medicare for people dealing with these issues. I also advocate that people take up personal responsibility. There's a lot of memes in our culture around however you might feel about religion, however you might feel about having kids, however you might feel about forming intimate bonds with people. There's a bunch of ways that people find responsibility in their life. And if you're a person that is dealing with some of these issues, I would just hope that you would try and search out responsibility, while also hopefully us collectively advocating for the healthcare that people need. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/GSU Gambit.
Link is in chat. Okay. White Rice, first time here. Trial by fire. That's how that goes here. But still, thank you for coming through, being part of this, and contributing, especially sharing your situation. So, White Rice, please.
Yeah. So I'm White Rice. I'm really new to the Twitch politics and like this end of it. I'm used to the gaming side of things. I just started streaming on Twitch at White Rice Official. I'm a veteran. I'm Korean. I feel like stuff like this is something that I think it's funny when people are talking about stuff like this and they've never really experienced it. And I want, as much as I want people to be able to find healthy ways of getting through these things, I know that's not always possible for some people. And in a situation like this, I think that if you can sit there and talk to your family about these things, and this is what you decide to do, like, I think that you should have all the power to do it, and that we shouldn't be able to stop people from having that bodily autonomy that we've been trying to fight for so long.
Okay. Next, we got an MVP. We got Counterpoints here with us. Counterpoints, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming back. We start the street off again today. And I'm always just ecstatic to have you around. Thank you for giving your perspective on all these things. It's always very valuable. Go ahead.
Yeah, sincerely appreciated. My name is Connor. I run a YouTube channel named Counterpoints. Type it into the search bar, you'll find me. Alternatively, you can do !Connor. If you haven't followed Prime already, please do so. If you have the ability to sub, please do so. Also, I am dual streaming onto Twitch now, which is awesome. And then the only thing that I wanted to say in reference to the subject, hopefully the computer doesn't interrupt me, is that medication helps, philosophy and religion help, but for people who have experienced like violent trauma, you will carry your ghosts with you. And the only way to carry those things is to find out what can be learned or to help people who have had similar experiences. As I kind of said already, salvation might not be just for yourself, it might be for other people. So if you have tips, tricks, experiences, trauma, anything that you can share with somebody else to help them out of the black hole that they're in, then I think you should offer that as a gift to the world. So you're asking why you should be here. I can't force you. I can't force anybody to be here. But I think that while you're here, there's a lot of things to be done. And if you could help out with those things, then it would be appreciated. So thank you, Prime, for having me. Sincerely appreciated. Love being here and looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We have Top Dolphin also came through. Always. We're happy to see him. We missed him the other day, but he was taking care of very important responsibilities, and so I'm excited that he could have some time today to be with us now. So, Top Dolphin, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love coming here. This is I like this panel. I like the black panel better, but this panel's fun too. As always, it's nice to see counterpoints, even though like the internet and God hates you and doesn't want you to speak. I appreciate like listening to you.
Awesome.
At the end of the day, I kind of want to go back to the original topic, which is like physician-assisted suicide, especially when it comes to physical ailments. If you want to understand like what some people are going through, especially people with ALS, read the book Tuesdays with Maury. It's such a good book. It talks about this in really a lot of depth, and it's like it's probably there's like 5 books in my life that I think were actually worth reading that like contributed positive things to my life that weren't entertainment, and like that's one of them. And the other thing I want to say is like as far as we know, like just to be like kind of responsible here, is that like if you're going through something, have some mental health issues, like go get help. Like at the end of the day, go see a doctor, talk to a physician, talk to a psychiatrist, and try to get the treatment you need, because the evidence that we have today shows that like you can get better, and like you should go out there and seek that help. That's all I want to say. Thanks for having me, friend.
Absolutely. Okay. Our next guest, Dionysus, is going to have to deal with that insult to white people, that this panel is just not good enough with your presence.
And then he only thanked Connor. He didn't thank me. Ouch. Thanks for having me, Prime. This was a fucking doozy. Shut up. This was a fucking doozy. It was fun. Thanks. Yeah, if you guys want to follow me, currently on a fuck Twitch spree. I'm gonna move to YouTube. Currently rebrand on that. Follow me on Twitch though, Dionysus_YT. My DMs on Discord and Twitter are always open for anyone. You're not allowed to quit. Fuck you. I'm here for you. But yeah, I'm center right. Media, arts, theater, movies, games. I do a bunch of shit. I have base as fuck takes, and you know everyone loves me in chat. And I'll be here on the after panel, so come. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Fanatic. There's no one like him. There's no one like Fanatic. Not in this community. Absolutely a unique individual, and one that I like a lot. So thank you, Fanatic, for taking time on your day to be a part of this and join us and give your opinions on this. So thank you. Tell a little about yourself.
Well, my name is Fanatic. I've been like in online spaces for God knows since I was a really, really young kid and becoming an older man now. So I'm not so young anymore. But I think you can follow me twitch.tv/Mr. Fanatic, but who cares about that? You should check out my latest YouTube video. It has a timestamp on it, but who cares? Just click it anyway. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. basically one of my debates, because I do this a lot with some unhinged psycho person on this platform. And they just went freaking psycho. And I actually was reserved there, which is crazy because, I think I'm actually a lot more reserved in 1v1 conversations just as a whole anyway. Yeah, you'll see me, there. Check out Jesse Lee Peterson's show. I'll be there, and like on Thursday. I just like my closing thoughts on this thing. Just making sure that we be responsible, since White Rice insists on being so irresponsible. I think like first off, I want to point out there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think the idea that we would like try to like just disparage this journey as if it's just going to be so horrible for people and like cause people to feel more despair who are already dealing with something that's incredibly terrible. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I know too many people who have like overcome and have gotten into better places in life, and I think that's the thing that should be strived for because it's a realistic possibility. I think it's a very vacuous thing to just say something as stupid as, oh, there's no cure for depression. Of course not. There might not be a cure for depression, but there is treatment for depression. And the treatment has gotten so good, and with enough time, finding the right doctor or the right combination of therapy and medication or whatever else, the right treatment, you can get to a place where depression is no longer a significant portion of your life. It is no longer defining. And I think that's the thing that we should be striving for because it is a realistic possibility. So with all that being said, I'm sorry, there was one other thing. Oh no, I guess that's it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's plenty of ways, different ways of dealing with things, and I think just be open-minded. Recognize that yes, it is not easy. No one's ever suggesting that it will be, but there is something worth fighting for. There is light at the other end of the tunnel. You can have the life that you actually want, and I obviously ask you to choose that, like pursue that. It is worth fighting for. I promise you. If I had like given into my whims as a younger man, I would have done some really really stupid things at extremely young ages, and it would have been tragic because I've like helped so many different people. I can actually be a resource. Plenty of people like love me and depend on me, and I get something out of life in helping them in the same way they get out of life in helping me when I'm going through tough times. Your life is valuable. It is important. Please cherish it and value it. Said all that. Follow me, twitch.tv/Fanatic. Look at my music under the name Fanatic. YouTube channel, Ask Fanatic. All that.
Okay. Let's go to New Salsa. You had quite a lot to say here, and I'm glad you're around to say it and give your perspective on this, especially on the very tough subject. But thank you, New Salsa, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Prime, for hosting this stuff. It's extremely important that everybody talks about this type of thing, right? And I think it's extremely important as well to mention that stay. You're here, and like if you need someone to talk to, my DMs are always open. Get the appropriate help that you always think to. That's a big reason, because even if we argued and we debated about all this other stuff about what you can and should do, you have to remember at the beginning points of myself and White Rice co-signed on this, and everybody else on this panel co-signed on this as well, that part of that step is a necessary therapy and talking to doctors and everything else along those lines. And this decision isn't one to be made lightly, nor right. That's not what you need to take away. So please, at the end of the day, like once again, please reach out to me, talk. I will play RuneScape, or I've been doing that. I've been Rocket League, or I'll try anything, honestly. But yeah, with that being said, yeah, it was a very fun time, very good back and forth. Just know that if you're having like any type of mental anguish and everything else like that, it's you're not alone. You never ever are. May feel that way, but once again, New Salsa and like Discord is 9295. New Salsa pound 9295 if you really want me, right? So yeah, that's about it. At the end of the day, stay. You're here. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, last but not least, we have Dooby. Dooby, again, I'm heartbroken that you've had to deal with that situation with your mother. I really truly hope that can be worked out and that she can find that light, and you guys can come out on the end of this. So, but thank you for coming on and sharing. I know it's deeply personal. I know it's deeply troubling, but you know I'm here for you. So,
Yeah, no, I think it'll be fine. And if it's not, I'll just show her your stream because everybody knows that despite the way you feel, watching Prime's channel is all you really need to know that you're not the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. And that'll keep you going, I'm sure, for another year or so. So for people who don't know me, I'm Dooby. I help run the politics server, the best and biggest politics server on Discord. You should go there and talk to me about things because I assure you, you're more wrong than most of these people. Because I did screw a fanatic and helped orphanages. Everybody hear about everything. They're actually genuinely intelligent people, and I respect what they say. Usually, most of the time, sometimes. So you should follow their shit. Also, go to my server. And Prime, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Needed that. Thanks so much. But I need to say this. Of course, please go look for help, as all the people have been saying. In chat, we have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number. Right? I'll spam it a few times just so you know. Like, if you've ever had these thoughts, they're a fantastic resource. Please go check them out. Very important. Yeah. So if you ever are feeling that way, please try them. Or if you have someone you can trust, someone who's reliable in your life, try them as well. Right? But we want you to stay in this world. Okay. All right. So open panel. That's the thing. Yes. We are going to go into open walk-on panel. Any of these amazing individuals can join us, but if not, that's okay. Thanks for your time, your energy, your knowledge, and a fuck ton of your passion with us today. I know my audience appreciates it as much as I do. Good one.